local companies produce. We saw in ACCA's Sustainability Reporting Awards last year, the first Sri Lankan integrated report done by Demos. And Suresh will be talking after me, so he'll tell you how they went towards it. But it is indeed a reality, it's happening, and we hope to see more this year. So let me just describe to you, put the theory on it in front of you so that you all can go out and practice it. Earlier I used to say, before this framework came along, how would you describe integrated reporting? And to me, the simple answer used to be combine GRI and IFRS and everything that goes around it, you probably get there. And that's what we are seeing. So this is how it's the components we want. We want it to be holistic, connected reporting, covering financial reporting, CSR, and the social governance and economics part of it, and environment. Financial and non-financial, very important. I think you'll have seen this slide in a previous presentation, but I've put it for completeness. So integrated reporting is reporting that demonstrates the linkages between an organization's strategy, governance, and financial performance, and the social, environmental, and economic context within which it operates. Let me skip these slides because we have seen many discussions around these topics. YIR, I believe Suresh is also covering some of this. And the IIRC, Aditi has been through it, so there's a graphical representation of what she did. So we've all been there from the beginning. These are the founding organizations. And this is its mandate to integrate financial and non-financial information within the strategic objectives, putting it in context within the strategic objectives, governance and business model. And for goodness sake, let's make it concise, clear, comprehensive, comparable. So this is the South African definition that they've used, as some of you may know. It's mandatory in South Africa. There are reviews of that available on the web. I think it hasn't done too badly for its first year. It is definitely got a longer way to go. But if you ask, the idea seems to be that maybe they've achieved about 60% of the path they have to travel. The framework that I've taken is from the discussion report that was released on integrated reporting by the IIRC. And now the comments are in, and the response from the communities consulted is also in there. So this is what it looks like. I'm not sure whether it's very clear, but let me read to you the pointers. This one here, these are the building blocks, and there must be a strategic focus, obviously. Connectivity of information, future orientation. The responses that have come in suggest that there may be some overlap between strategic focus and future orientation, so perhaps they may be combined, or some elements may be combined there. Responsiveness and stakeholder inclusiveness, and conciseness, reliability, and materiality. The document from the responses says that there's a request. The majority of the responses say that they want much more guidance around the issues of materiality in particular. Okay, what is strategic focus? The majority of us who read reports know this is what it is. that the organization's objectives must be there, the strategies that it has in place to get to where it plans to go, and how they relate to the components of the business model. I recommend anyone who's planning to do an integrated report to take a look at Novo Nordisk and Philips. Philips seems to have married technology and the frameworks very well. You can basically select the components that you want. There are combinations of the elements put together for a financial analyst, a sustainability analyst, or whatever it is, so that you can just hone in on just the information you want. And the reason why I mention it during the time we look at strategic focus is that I think Philips has handled it really well, this element. When you read it, it's almost a learning experience. You learn of all the macro trends that are happening around the world, the opportunities they see in those trends, and how they plan to exploit them. So it's put so well in context for the reader, you don't want to stop it. And then when you go into the sector performances, you actually see how it can apply to your own life. So it's very well done. Right now, actually, I would recommend that if we are putting this theory to practice, do look at these very practical examples so that we kind of leapfrog the evolution cycle. On connectivity of information, it's asking for things to be connected. If you have one performance indicator in one chapter, please make sure that with the next component, there's no conflict. So you need to talk about the changing nature of business decision-making, the critical linkages there, break down the silos. You know, we can't have compartmentalized reporting. It needs to merge together so that when the reader looks at it, it is one whole. And the traditional focus on primarily financial affairs needs to be balanced. The future orientation is very important. We've tried the previous models of reporting, and I spoke, I think, about sustainability reporting last year at the conference. We need to go beyond that, and I think with this new framework, they've defined the future even better as to the elements that you want to do. I would definitely recommend that you download the discussion paper, which is available for free, to take a look at these key elements, but very briefly, this is it. How you balance short-term and long-term interests, where you expect to go over time with numerical targets, how you plan to get there, and what are the critical enablers, challenges, barriers that you may have along the way. The whole concept of sustainability reporting and the next generation, which is integrated reporting, is based on stakeholder inclusiveness and responsiveness to their needs and the issues. So basically, what holds true for sustainability reporting comes in here: identify material issues, develop and evaluate the strategies, manage activities, including strategic and accountable responses to material issues. Here again, Philips comes to mind because, sorry, what has happened? Okay. They've brought down the size of their report, which was last year 273 pages to 250 pages for the 2011 report, which is no mean task when you see just how broad their operations are. And they've also mentioned that their reporting process, what we generally do is we take the GRI guidelines as a checklist and start from that point. They've mentioned that they actually use that at the end when they've completed what they want to put on the report. Then they use this to ensure that everything is covered. Whichever way you go, in the end, I think strategy has to happen before reporting. So that's the main thing. So what do we, the content elements that's there in the conceptual framework are organizational overview and business model. These are one of the 5 little circles that were there in the Pentagon. So mission, principal activities, market, product, services, which most annual reports have. But this is what we like to see going forward: the business model, value drivers, critical stakeholder dependencies. That needs to come out a little more in depth and be clearly identified. And the company's attitude to risk, it could vary. You might have an appetite for risk. You may be more conservative, so it's well worth articulating that in the report on a top view. The operating context, including risks and opportunities, include these commercial, social, environmental context, which most of you who have been dealing in sustainability reporting would already be doing. What we'd like to see is also identification of the key resources and relationships on which you are dependent, which impact your business. For example, mining, these are finite resources. How long are these going to last? Key relationships, maybe the majority of your relationships are dependent on, or you're dependent on trade unions, government agencies, whatever. The dependencies to be very clearly identified so that a reader understands the impacts. And of course, the key risks and opportunities. Going back to Philips, I think they had identified aging population, healthcare issues, government finances not being adequate to support healthcare, and they've identified the opportunities they see for themselves within that space. So the risks are also identified elsewhere in the report, but related to this. So we want to see all of this in an integrated report in as concise a manner as possible. It doesn't have to be in words. The pictures can be used extremely effectively. Strategic objectives and strategies to achieve those objectives very clearly given in the report so that the risk management arrangements are understood and the linkages in strategies and context elements happen. And what makes this business unique? And how are they going to realize their value in the future? That has to come through very clearly in this, this element. What makes the business unique? Governance and remuneration, something where a lot of progress needs to be made, particularly in South Asia. So the process for leadership and strategic decision-making actions to influence remuneration of executives and the link to performance. Performance in the medium term and the long term, short term and long term, both. Of course, these are common. Performance on qualitative and quantitative. I don't think these are debated. KPIs and KRIs on performance against strategic objectives. The positive or negative impacts that you see on resources and relationships which are necessary for the business to function, and significant external factors that impact performance. For example, you know, for an insurance company, it would be climate change, and there would be many more. performance against targets as much as possible. We want to see, I believe Philips has even put their vision for 2015 and their strategy for that. So future outlook is vital. How entities currently equipped to respond to the operating context. Where are we heading? For banks, they really need to take a look at this if they're over-leveraged. So what is their operating environment, to just give an example. Balancing short-term and long-term interests, and the potential repercussions of the strategies that they have for these 3 time periods, and actions that you need to get there, and uncertainties. So again, just to emphasize this point, it's not integrated reporting first, it's integrated strategy. And if you take nothing else away, this is the most important thing to take away. To integrate the sustainability principles into your strategy and then do the reporting. You cannot do reporting and then build up strategy, not with integrated reporting. I think I'll wind up there because I'm due for time. Let me see, I have some, the big accounting firm websites all have lots of support material built around the framework for your guidance. So Ernst & Young has a content outline for integrated reporting, and there's advice and guidance given on many of these as to the process that you need to engage in and also what to look out for. And these are some of the extracts, but I will skip them. The frameworks that they have built up are all there in there. The issues are we looking at one integrated report, or are we looking at reporting where there are many reports? So IIRC is that it should be a single report, but there's some debate whether it's one report, reporting assurance. I think there isn't a big debate there, but that you need assurance. That, I think everybody agrees. And SME and public sector, I think there was a discussion that was led by the Harvard Business Review in the US, and the universities wanted to do it, and they thought it should be applicable not just to these entities, but also to universities and schools and most other entities. But the issue that's coming up here right now is how do we balance what the public sector needs to do or the large corporates need to do versus the lesser volume that SMEs should be engaging, and to get investor buy-in. But if we do a good job with the reports that we produce initially and show value, I think investor buy-in would not be an issue. There are more. These are 3 of the good integrated reports. Novo Nordisk annual report 2010, 2011 is available as well, Philips, and United Technologies. So I suggest you just look at the websites and download those reports for ideas. Some of these reports, it's just in the words that they use, more than even the format. It's just how concisely and succinctly they've put the point across to the reader. Because as you know, every report has so many words. And they're making each word count. And that's where we need to get to. So thank you.
Thank you, Aruni. We in Sri Lanka, we know how much, I think, under Aruni's leadership, efforts were taken to introduce the concept of Sri Lanka from the time she was associated with the association. And then that was fairly a step-by-step approach in the back of Dr. Aditi's presentation on the current developments in the global reporting. and that probably set the stage and for the session. So we come to the final session to giving us a very practical approach, and to do that we have my good friend Suresh Gunaratna, and we know how much this group, the DEMO group, and even has been winning awards in this area and have been making a lot of initiatives. To introduce him briefly, Suresh Gunaratna is a director of the Board of Directors of Diesel and Motor Engineers, and he is the Chief Financial Officer of the DEMO Group. He is holder of the MBA from the PIM, Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jawadhanapura, and is reading for his PhD at the University of Colombo. Suresh, over to you. We can probably have questions on the paper once you finish, as well as I'm told there will be tea after the session. So Suresh, you'll have 20 minutes. You'll be standing in between the tea break.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Indrajit. I definitely don't want to do that. Try to somehow finish in 20 minutes. Okay. First of all, let me thank Professor Wattawala, SAFA, and CMA for inviting me here. And also, I think the topic that you have selected for this summit is to be congratulated for, because you see this topic in a lot of corporate literature, annual reports, but having selected it for a whole conference shows that you have thought ahead of time. So please accept my congratulations for that. Starting, let's look at why integrated report in a very practical way. When I think about this, I can about three reasons come to my mind. So I was trying to find a way of explaining the first one to you. No, don't worry, this is not a mistake. So I was trying to draw an analogy to explain this to you. And what came to my mind is a cricket scorecard, and something that is very dear to us. Let's look at this scorecard. Australia, Rob, I hope you don't mind me taking Australia. 212 all out. And Sri Lanka, 180 for 6 wickets in 42 overs. And you are asked this question, who is likely to win this match? So you have some scores, you have a scorecard, and you are asked to predict something. Don't we try to do the same thing with our financial reporting? We have some historical numbers, some historical information, and we are expected to make decisions based on those historical numbers. So we are in the same situation. Now, getting back to this, for me to answer this, I can make a guess. Of course, I would always want Sri Lanka to win. I hope you'll excuse me. But to make an informed decision, I would want to know a little more, a few more details, like what is the state of the pitch? Because we are coming towards the end of the match. Is the ball turning? Who is at the crease? What is the current partnership? How many overs have their weaker bowlers got to bowl? A whole lot of other things I would want to know before I form an opinion. So in other words, one would want to assess the state of play before making a judgment. So this is one case for integrated reporting, my dear friends. So if we are expected to make some decisions based on information, I think we need to have all the information. We need to have past information enough for us to think about the future. So this is one reason. The second one, I would show you some corporate valuation. This is a slide from IIRC actually. Standard & Poor, they have given the composition of value of a company. If you look at 1975, 83% of the value came from physical and financial assets, and only 17% from others. Please look at 2009. It's just the other way. 19% of the corporate value only comes from financial assets and physical assets, and 81%, as much as 81% comes from the others. So that clearly shows that value of a corporate is not only what is in the balance sheet. Let me look at another reason. The world has changed, so reporting too has to change. Why not? Please look at this slide. I mean, this has no direct relationship with integrated reporting. This shows the extent to which the world has changed. Urban population, where they has changed, it has gone up. Growth in urban population, rather. The economic powerhouses are changing. The middle class income earners are changing. The carbon footprint is increasing. Water stress levels for resources, water resources, the fight is intensifying. Oil reserves are depleting. A whole lot of things are happening. So the dynamics and the economics of the world will change. We are compelled to look at everything. We are compelled to look at not only financial assets, all the other things as well. The stresses are increasing. So all in all, this is another reason. If you look at 1960 rather, the financial statements just had a set of accounts. When it came to 1980, it has evolved. So reporting also has evolved up to now. It had financial statements, management commentary, governance and remuneration, environmental reporting. Come 2000, year 2000, we had, instead of environmental reporting, we had sustainability reporting. Now what are we looking at? We are looking at integrated reporting. The same components we are trying to integrate, we are trying to intertwine. And as you see, as this picture depicts, we are trying to integrate all these into one thread and talk about all these in one language. That's what we are trying to do in integrated reporting. So since the world has changed, I think it's time that the world look at changing the way we do financial reporting. Talking of integrated reporting, we cannot miss the International Integrated Reporting Council, IIRC. I already referred to that. And this is a world body, an international body, which has the patronage of all the big boys, if I may say so. IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, IASB, FASB, GRI is there, and all the big accounting firms are there. So they are working on publishing a framework for integrated reporting, which is due end of next year. So in order to do this, they have formed something called the IIRC pilot program, where they have enlisted about 60 companies from all over the world. You have Microsoft, Coca-Cola, HSBC, all the big companies, all the big four firms are there. And from Sri Lanka, we have made an application to be part of the pilot program, and we are happy to say that we were selected to be, thank you. We were selected to be part of the program, and we have been with them for about 1 year now. So what happens there in that forum is, they give us a lot of literature, we share a lot of thoughts, we have webinars, we have physical meetings once a year or so. There is a lot of exchange of information that is taking place, and they encourage us to take the path of integrated reporting and discuss issues. And we meet more than once a year actually when there are issues. Recently we had a CFO roundtable, and it's very useful, and I can clearly see where it is heading, and it's nearer than far. It will come very soon. Is there a universally recognized guideline published on integrated reporting? Not yet. The first framework is due for publication towards the end of 2013. So by 2013, you'll have a document to work on. Not that we don't have one now, as Aruni mentioned. We have a discussion paper at the moment. What is expected is a guideline. So we all accountants will have a document to work with. Is literature available on integrated reporting in order to understand the concept? Yes. Even today, if you go to the IIRC website, you'll be able to find some literature. The discussion paper is there. Definitely, if you properly study it, you can really understand the concept very well. What is integrated reporting? I'm not going to go through this. Aruni put this up, but there are 1 or 2 key words that you need to understand here. The word context, that is there towards the end. We are trying to reflect a context. In financial reporting, what do? We are trying to report on what happened. Now here, when you report on a context, you're talking of the strategies, your performance, the stakeholder engagement, stakeholder-related performance, stewardship, risk management, everything, to give the context to the organization's position. So that will involve financial and non-financial information. Then what is an integrated report? It's a single report. I'm again not going to go through these definitions. There are some key words here. Actually, an integrated report should be able to show how the company can create value. Value creation is not just a word. You go to the IRC website, you will find the definition. I have it here because since I have to finish in 20 minutes, I have to go a little fast. Okay, there is a debate about sustainability and integrated reporting as to whether both are the same. In order to give my view, my current view actually, I have these three definitions. What is sustainability? What is sustainability reporting? What is integrated reporting? You will clearly see, if you go by the definition, sustainability reports definition is different from a integrated report, that of an integrated report. Aditi also, I think, she mentioned about what is going to come in G4. I will mention that later. Now, to explain that, actually, it looks quite different. Where they are going looks a little different, at least. Then what is similar? There are a lot of similarities. Okay, I'll try to again draw an analogy. Look at this picture. You see some nice tea plantations here. Now, those who live in Sri Lanka, if you travel to Nuwara via Avisavella, you pass Hatton, Talawakale, Nuwara. Say person A is traveling from Colombo to